Have you ever seen a man dunk so hard he snaps a steel rim in half? Not once, not twice, but so many times the NBA had to change the rules. That's not a legend, that's Shaquille O'Neal. And this is the story of how one unstoppable force bullied the entire league with dunks. Before he was shattering backboards on live television, Shaquille O'Neal was just a giant kid with nowhere to put all that power. Could you believe that he was already dunking on double rims when most kids were still struggling with layups? Yeah, not the average neighborhood hooper. His stepfather, a tough-as-nails army sergeant, ran the house like a boot camp. They moved from base to base, Germany, Texas, New Jersey, but no matter where Shaq went, one thing was obvious. He was huge. By high school, he was over 6'6" and still growing. Coaches didn't know whether to hand him into basketball or to call NASA. And when he dunked, it wasn't just a score, it was a statement. Backboards rattled, gyms fell silent, opponents backed up. Finesse? That wasn't in the playbook. One coach told him straight up, if you don't break the rim, you're not doing it right. That sounds crazy, but for Shaq, it was just the beginning. And if high school hoops couldn't handle him, college basketball didn't stand a chance. Shaq landed at LSU like a wrecking ball in a jersey. You would think that defenders would try to outsmart him, maybe double team him, push him out of the paint, but no. Shaq would grab the ball, take one dribble, and boom, another rim nearly torn off of the backboard. Can you believe they actually had to reinforce the hoops before the home games? That sounds insane, but it really happened. He wasn't just putting up numbers, he was putting dents in gym equipment. Footage from those years shows backboards cracking, rims bending like coat hangers, and defenders literally ducking out of the way. Shaq didn't play basketball, he overpowered it. Crowds didn't come to see LSU win, they came to see what Shaq would break next. Dunking wasn't just part of his game, it was the game. By his sophomore year, sports anchors stopped calling him Shaquille O'Neal. They just called him Diesel, and honestly, that nickname didn't even do him justice. By the time the 1992 NBA draft rolled around, Shaq wasn't just hype, he was expected to dominate. But no one, not even the NBA, was ready for what happened next.
With the first pick in the 1992 NBA draft, the Orlando Magic selects Shaquille O'Neal from Louisiana State University.
Orlando snatched him up with the #1 overall pick, and within weeks of his rookie season, he was already breaking more than just records. 2 shattered backboards in less than a month. Can you imagine being a rookie, leaving behind the breeze after games? April 23rd, 1993. Shaq rose from one of his trademark slams, and when he came down, the whole metal frame surrendered with a groan, collapsing around him like a street lamp in a storm. Not just the rim, not the glass. The whole thing came crashing down like a demolition scene. The crowd losing their minds, the announcers speechless, the league panicking. Teams rushed to reinforce their stanchions. Double bracing became standard, engineers were brought in to rework the equipment, and all because of one man. Internally, the NBA started using the term Shaq-proof when discussing new hoop designs. That sounds made up, right? It's not. Players were in awe, coaches were shocked. Arenas scrambled to upgrade everything from rim bolts to base plates. And while everyone else was playing catch up, Shaq was just walking back down the court, totally unfazed, like it was just another Tuesday. Because of him, it was. He wasn't trying to break the league. He was just dunking like he always did. The backboards weren't the only thing feeling the pain. By his second and third seasons, Shaq had set his sights onto something bigger. The league's top centers, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Alonzo Mourning. These weren't just NBA All-Stars, they were legends, shot blockers, paint protectors. But when they faced Shaq, let's just say, they brought blocks, he brought bruises. He wasn't out there just trying to finesse his way to a win. Shaq played like a man on a mission, to physically dominate, to bulldoze, to break wheels. I wanted to make people afraid to jump with me, he once said. It worked. Guys stopped challenging him at the rim. Why risk being on the poster or worse, in traction? In one game, Shaq dunked so violently that the ball ricocheted off of a defender's head and flew into the stands like a missile. That's not just power, that's terror. By 1996, Shaq was no longer just a rising star. He was a living avalanche. Teams didn't just prepare for him, they braced for him. And the scary part, he hadn't even hit his peak yet. By the late 90s, Shaq had already conquered backboards, rivals, and rookie expectations. But when he signed with the Los Angeles Lakers in 1996, everything leveled up. Bigger city, brighter lights, and a teenage prodigy named Kobe Bryant by his side. Together, they became the most explosive duo of their era. And when the new millennium hit, Shaq entered a whole different mode. Not just dominant, but historically unstoppable. From 2000 to 2002, the Lakers went on a legendary three-peat run, and Shaq, he bulldozed through every playoff series like the finals were personal. 3 straight finals MVPs. Every game, he dunked with such ferocity that even the opponents looked impressed or terrified. Who could forget the 2001 finals? Could you imagine being clowned on while still airborne? At that point, it wasn't just basketball, it was a performance art. Commentators stopped calling it a dunk and started saying things like, and there is another Shaq event. Teams sent double teams, triple teams. He dunked through them anyways. People say that gravity's undefeated, but for a few years, it looked like Shaq might be the first one to challenge it. Even arena designers started adapting. New rims, new bracing, reinforced glass, all tested for what engineers literally began calling Shaq level force. Because when Shaq went up, something was coming down, and no one could stop him. Shaq didn't just leave a mark on the game, he left dents in it, literal ones. After years of shattering glass and bent rims, the NBA finally had to act. Stronger breakaway rims became mandatory. Reinforced stanchions were installed. Backboards got tougher. At first, it was just locker room lingo. Engineers joking about making hoops Shaq-proof. Sounded like a meme before memes, but it stuck because it had to. Sounds like a joke, right? But it was real. The league literally had to build the game around a single man's dunking power. But here's the twist. Once Shaq set the bar, no one else even tried to reach it. Big men stopped trying to bang in the paint like him. Why bother? You couldn't out-muscle him, and you couldn't out-dunk him. So they adapted, and the NBA entered the age of the stretch big. Centers started stepping out of the perimeter, relying on finesse, speed, and shooting. The age of the rim-rattling giant, over. Because Shaq wasn't just the last of his kind, he was the only one of his kind. Even today, when players and analysis talk about the most dominant force to ever step up on the NBA court, the answer is almost unanimous. Shaquille O'Neal. Not just a dunker, not just a star, a one-man earthquake. Eventually, the dunks stopped, but Shaq never really left the spotlight. After retiring, he morphed into a media machine, NBA analyst, rapper, DJ, actor, and low-key business mogul, with a portfolio as massive as his wingspan. And of course, still cracking jokes about breaking backboards like it was just another Tuesday. He signs many hoops with the message, stay strong. Because let's be real, even toy rims aren't safe around him. Young players still say, I grew up watching Shaq dunk on people. Not shoot, not dribble, dunk. His highlights don't feature buzzer beaters. They feature violent dunks that shook arenas. They weren't just plays, they were moments. And today, kids don't just study Shaq to copy his moves. They watch him to remember what made them fall in love with the game in the first place. Because Shaq wasn't just a player, he was a show. So what happens when you give a 7-foot, 300-pound man the footwork of a ballerina and the force of a freight train? You get Shaquille O'Neal, the NBA's original rim destroyer. A man so powerful, he didn't just play the game, he reshaped it. Literally, Shaq wasn't just dominant, he was a force of nature, and the league has never been the same since.